Hello everyone, my name's Eric. Welcome into Above My Pay Grade. Thanks for tuning in. If you could do me a favor, hit the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't. As we all know, inflation has gone up, and despite people's talking points about it peaking and cresting and all these other things, continues to go up. Now, Janet Yellen from the Treasury Department, former Fed chair, gave a press conference yesterday. We're going to break down what she said and see if what she's saying actually helps to lower inflation. Let's get to the video.
Unacceptably high, and that's something that's evident from Wednesday's report. And I believe it's appropriate that it's our it should be the top priority to bring inflation down. The labor market is currently very strong. We've witnessed an historic recovery in employment. We've now regained all of the private sector jobs that were lost. The labor market is tight, and the labor market is in good shape. We're first and foremost supportive of the Fed's efforts, what they deem to be necessary to get inflation under control. And beyond that, we're taking our own steps that we believe will be supportive in the short term to get inflation down, particularly what we're doing on energy prices, the strategic petroleum reserve, also the work that we're doing to institute a price cap on Russian oil to avoid potential future spikes in oil prices. We're very supportive of deficit reduction and very much hope that Congress will pass a reconciliation bill that would help lower some of the important costs faced by consumers, particularly prescription drugs.
So that was our friend Janet giving us all the fun info. Always have to listen to her on double speed because she's the slowest talker in the world. So I have some notes here. I wanted to go through some of the things that I see with my own eyes, and you probably do too, and some of the stats with what she's saying. So let's talk employment. Employment, if you are in America, you've probably seen all these mom and pop shops, fast food places, they all have help wanted signs. Now, are there more people in the United States, or rather less people in the United States than 2019? Because all these places didn't have help wanted signs back then. So why is our labor market so great? And that would be labor force participation. So when it comes to jobs, most people who want to participate in the job market have a job or can get a job. But what about the people who don't want to participate? And that would give you the answer to why there's all those help wanted signs. There's a lot of people in this economy who have checked out, especially young people. They have checked out. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Maybe they made a ton of money in the market or the crypto market in 2020 and 2021. But there's a lot of people who have checked out. And it is for sure, all these businesses that need help, is that good or bad for business? It's bad, okay? I've gone to restaurants that had to close because they had people who wanted to eat there, but they had to close because they didn't have enough workers. I'm sure you guys have had similar experiences. Is that a very strong labor market? By the numbers, yes. In reality, no. All right, so she goes on to talk about energy prices in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So I looked this up. There's 726 million barrels of oil. And she touts that they're releasing 1 million barrels of oil a day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. If you've been paying attention to the news, not all those barrels of oil are going to the United States. Let me know what you think about that. So, the Strategic Reserve, which keyword strategic, why is it there? Partially for the military. If we have to go to war, we have this oil reserve if necessary, because a lot of the military vehicles, including aircraft, run off of oil. Now, 1 million barrels a day sounds like a lot, but if you look at how much we actually consume, we almost consume 20 million barrels of oil a day in the United States alone. United States alone. So do you think 1 million barrels of oil released from the strategic reserve is actually going to make a dent? I don't think so. On top of the fact that it actually puts us strategically on war footing in a worse place. So that's not lowering inflation. Political theater there. And here's my favorite. Put a price cap on Russian oil. If you didn't know, the buyers of Russian oil, mostly in Europe and the United States, have come together and they say, you know what we're going to do? We're not going to pay more than X price for the oil. Now, this is one of the funniest ones to me, because Russia, who needs who more? Does Russia need Germany more, or does Germany need Russia more when it comes to oil? I'll answer that for you. Germany needs Russia. So if Germany wants to bluff and pretend that they have pocket aces when they don't, Russia will just say, fine, I'll call your bluff. You don't get any oil. What will happen? Germans will freeze to death in the wintertime. So they can do this political theater all they want, but it assumes that there's no other buyer of Russian oil, when India and China are waiting in the wings ready to buy Russian oil. So if Europe and the United States want to play this game, they assume that there's no other buyer. And I'm assuming they know this. I listened to a Doomberg podcast the other day, and he's like, I don't know what's scarier, them proposing this and thinking it'll work, or that this is just political theater. And then he says, if they actually think this will work, that is extremely scary. Extremely scary. And to some degree, I gotta wonder if politicians are that dumb. Because the ESG movement, they continue to shoot themselves in the foot over and over again. But it looks, this price cap on Russian oil isn't going to work, and it looks like political theater, which it is, because Russia has the oil. Fine, you don't want to pay for it? We'll sell it to somebody else. That's exactly what they're going to do. So how does this price cap help anybody? It doesn't. Political theater. And then my favorite, deficit reduction. So the goal with this channel is kind of to sound the alarm bell for people who are like, dee in America, thinking everything will go back to normal. It won't. It won't. Maybe eventually it will, but we have gotten ourselves into such a predicament. I look at it kind of like gaining weight with the Fed and what we've done with monetary policy. We have been feeding ourselves Twinkies for so long that it's no longer losing weight. We have to lose, we weigh over 700 pounds at this point. So losing weight is going to be painful. It's our knees are going to hurt. We're going to sweat a lot. There's a lot of bad stuff that's going to happen for us to get to the other side. And reducing the deficit, as she calls it, we've taken about $3 trillion of tax receipts. We spend about $4.5 trillion on a regular basis every year. Now, because we have deficit spending, that leads to inflation, just so you know. Now, politicians are incentivized to give people free stuff, but they don't want those free gifts to have consequences. No strings attached, no inflation, no. We want free college, free food, free healthcare, free everything. But that's not the way the world works. That's not the way the world works. Unfortunately, that's how politicians think. So, if you look at this chart, mandatory spending in the United States takes up a lion's share of our budget. Mandatory spending being Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Now, we're not lowering that part, so that gets to discretionary spending. Also, we can't lower our interest payment. And by the way, just because the Fed is raising rates, that portion, the interest rate portion, is going up. It takes a larger piece of the pie. So we're basically left with discretionary spending. A large majority of discretionary spending goes towards the military. Now, I will agree with everyone who says military spending can drop and we can cut, but it's not a large portion of the budget. Majority of the budget is Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and a lot of voters don't want that cut. And so we don't want to go on a diet. We want to keep eating our Twinkies and not get fatter. That's the way politicians think. That's the way voters think. Until the pain gets too much. We go to the doctor one day and they tell us, guess what? You're going to have a heart attack in 3 weeks if you don't start losing weight. And we're like, what? I love Twinkies. I want to keep eating them. I was like, okay, but your economy's going to die. and you're going to die of obesity if you don't lose weight, if you don't start cutting back. So when she talks deficit spending in Congress, all these people have their constituents, and if their constituents are baby boomers who are about to start collecting Social Security that they paid into their whole life, and now we're saying, hey, guess what, we need to cut it. Do you think they're going to vote for that? My guess is not. So as a country, unfortunately, I think we have to go through the pain. We have to get the diagnosis. We have to get the terminal diagnosis. We got to start losing weight, and all that pain has to happen, unfortunately, for people to straighten up and fly right, because we keep wanting to have our cake and eat it too. In an economy that has lived off deficit spending and Twinkies, we can't do it. We can't have both. So we're either going to have super high inflation or depression to correct this mess. And which one do you think the United States government is going to go with? Because they either have to default through inflation, meaning they print a bunch of money, so it's not really defaulting because they're giving you the dollars they promised, they're just not worth anything, or default honestly by saying we cannot pay our debts anymore. We cannot fund Social Security, we cannot fund Medicare and Medicaid, and we cannot pay this debt. Which one do you think they're going to pick? My vote and guess is inflation. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you guys in the next one. Peace.